You are listening to the Mark Guzman Podcast Experience. Okay, we'll go ahead and link up that gender bias toolkit in the description also. Now, let's talk about the women who support President Trump right now. And despite having a long history of negative activity against women, he still beat Hillary by 28 points when looking at the female demographic. Why do you think this happened? And I believe this would tie into your latest book, The White Working Class.
Yes. Yeah. Why this happened is, the reason that Trump won is because he got 77,000 crucial votes in 4 Rust Belt states, chiefly among what is typically called the white working class. And I'll call them that here, but they really aren't working class. They're really the middle class in the United States. The middle class in the United States has really faced very harsh economic conditions in the past few decades. And a lot of them have either fallen out of the middle class or are fearful that they will. And that's why that economic anxiety is widely shared by men as well as women. What happened is that the men lost high-paying blue-collar jobs. And that has been really terrible for the men. It's made them feel really terrible about themselves. Unemployed men are usually super bummed out, or men who are doing jobs that they consider to be far beneath them. It's also had a really harsh impact on working class women because although in professional jobs you've seen a lot of movement of women into traditionally men's jobs, that's not true in these middle class blue collar jobs. Typically, the good jobs with high wages have remained almost universally held by men. And that means that the women in those working class families also depended on those blue collar jobs because their pink collar jobs didn't pay very much and typically don't have much upward potential. And so the massive loss of high paying blue collar jobs has been deeply distressing not only to working class men but also working class women. And that's one really important factor that drove white working class women to vote for Trump. Another thing that happened is that Hillary Clinton, and I'm a Democrat. I voted for her. I worked for her, but she was pretty class clueless. She talked a lot about the glass ceiling. Well, if you think about it, what does that metaphor mean? It means that silver spoon girls like me should be able to get the same jobs that our fathers had or our husbands have. Why should working class people care? They don't. They don't. Now, if Hillary Clinton had focused more on sexual harassment than on the glass ceiling, I think her candidacy might have done a better job at holding more of these white working class women. So, if you think about the black community, the racism is so salient in the black community that they remain very loyal to Democrats for that reason. But in many other ways, the black community and other communities of color are a whole heck of a lot more like the white working class than they are like the college-educated elite. They're much more traditional. They're much more open to religion. They're much more traditional in terms of their family values. In terms of even some of these communities, notably Latinos, much more traditional on issues related to reproductive rights.
Yeah, so it really comes down to a class divide. And between 2 articles, you wrote a piece for the Harvard Business Review and another one for the New York Times. And I think the way you broke it down, like, just hit it right on the nail, where Republicans are about bringing back American jobs, whether they can make it happen or not. That's kind of their
Yeah.
main topic point. And then on the Democrats, it's a wide range of topics that are important topics, but at the core for many people, what they really care for themselves and their families are stable jobs, stable lives, um, basically their own economics.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's, as I always say, the working class of all colors wants what the college educated elite by and large already has, which is a job where they can work hard and gain their vision of the middle class life. That's what most Americans want. That's even what poor folks want by and large. And the Republicans, and I speak as a Democrat, the Republicans, they have an answer to why the good jobs left: trade treaties. They have an answer to why the jobs that remain are low paid: immigrants. And they have a solution for all of it: tax cuts. Now, I don't believe that that's an accurate analysis, and I don't believe that tax cuts are going to be an effective fix. But if Democrats don't want that to be the only story around, they've got to offer a different story.
Thank you for listening to this podcast short. For more podcast content, be sure to subscribe to all of our podcast channels on YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Libsyn, Castbox, Podbean, and literally anywhere else you listen to podcasts.